What's up, people? I've already spotted a couple of trolls in the comments. Had to hide them. At least now I know how to hide them, because last time I didn't. Can you guys hear me? Let me know. Nice. Echo. That's because I'm in a living room. It's pretty echoey here. So anyways, last live stream, after I've seen it, I was like terrified on the quality. It was terrible. And reason number one for it was because it was streamed over Wi-Fi on my MacBook. I haven't even thought about plugging my laptop to Ethernet port. It was a big mistake. So today I went out to studio, grabbed my dongle for Ethernet cable and connected it through it. So it should be better now, hopefully. Anyways, the idea that late night CG talks is something I was thinking about to make like a regular thing. I actually enjoyed live streaming last week, so that's one. Second is sometimes I don't have time to produce like really crafted tutorials and that kind of content because it's time consuming. It requires a lot of scripting, preparations, and things like that. So I thought live streaming can sort that, the consistency of the content for you guys. And the third reason, I want the members of the channel to be more involved. How I'm visioning that. So at the moment, there are only 37 channel members. Those are the guys who clicked the join button, chose their level, and joined the membership of the channel. 13 of those guys are on Padawan level. So we have a dedicated Slack channel. We're talking to them on daily basis anyway, and others kind of not really participating apart from hidden posts on YouTube. So I was thinking this particular live stream is available to everyone and everyone can see it at the moment. But my ongoing idea is when there will be more members, live stream will be available to them only, and the members would vote for a topic that we would discuss in these live streams, and we will record it with them. So let's say we have 100 members of the channel. We'll record that live stream with 100 people who can, the chat won't be so overcrowded, if I can say that. I will be focusing on their questions much more, and they will kind of drive where this session goes to. It can be a tutorial, screen kind of sharing thing, doing something, discussing something, cameras, engines, news and in CG industry, all sort of things. And then I'm actually recording it right now, and then I would edit it, color grade, do the sound, all that good stuff, and post it as a regular video for the rest of the audience later. That's kind of the idea. I don't know what you guys think about it. Let's read. Hello from Lithuania. Hey. Hello, Andrey. Do you speak Russian? Да, я говорю на русском. More live streaming, especially during COVID lockdown. Yeah, that's actually why live streams started to be a thing on my channel. Why don't you show your jar with lights on stream? Cheeky one. I was actually thinking about putting it here somewhere, and I'm pretty sure there should be a way to overlay the actual particles animation on top. I haven't yet figured it out. What does it cost to be a member? So there are 3 levels. I believe the cheapest one is $1 something. Second level is $5 something. I don't remember prices, to be honest. And the Padawan level, where we interact in our chats, is $45 or something like that. but any member at any level will be able to participate in that live stream, vote for the topic, and all that good stuff. And Russian. Andrey, when will you be doing live tutorials like Andrew? Andrey 𝘁𝗶𝗀𝗲, you mean? Haven't seen any live tutorials from Andrey 𝘁𝗶𝗲𝗲, but that's what this idea is for. I'm thinking about doing something like, I don't know, a lot of people asking, like, show us how you did your intro. We could do that in live. I could just check this out. So I can press the button. Oh my God, that's a mirror. And I have my parsec set up here. We could connect to any station, do the thing in 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗶, Redshift, Octane, whatever. Just need to decide. Ever been to Minsk? Minsk, yeah, been there. Hi from a pretty quiet Vienna. Hello. Not in your man's cave. No, not in my man's cave, because that late night CG talks. So it's kind of confusing at the moment, because obviously it's not late night. I've set up these lights while the sun was still hitting the wall behind me, so, but I can tell that exposure is quite fine. I can see the waveform here. I can grade that later. It's probably too dark for live stream, but it will look good after I edit it, because I'm recording this now. Should be cool. The reason why I sat in live in our living room is because I think it should be different from the main content on the channel. It should be cozy, kind of more conversation-like. 𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗲, hi Marek. Marek won my competition last year, and we actually met in real life not that long ago. Nice dude. Andrey, hi. Tell us why you switched to Mac. Because PCs are the best. I didn't switch to Mac. This unit it's only to connect to big workstation. If I would click here, so that's my big station with a lot of RAM, 2 Titan RTX. I can do anything there. I have all my software there, like Cinema 4D Fusion, Photoshop, Lightroom, InDesign, Resolve, Houdini, all the Quixel packages, everything is on there. On this Mac, I actually have only have like Photoshop, Resolve, and the remote control software. So I'm not doing anything on it. I actually don't like, one thing I don't like about Macs, I don't know if I'll be silent. Can you hear it? It's so loud. It overheats. Like, even you can watch a movie or something and it will be overheating and be really loud. I don't know if this mic is picking it up or not. One Russian question. 𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗲𝗶, что похож? What about V-Ray render? I used V-Ray for 2 or 3 years. It's pretty cool, but I actually was using MacBook Pro when I was still on V-Ray, and a couple of PC stations before. And I worked in an interior agency back in my country, which was 3D Max and V-Ray. It's a powerful engine, but I'm not enjoying using it. When GPU rendering became a thing, I straight away felt like, yeah, that's my thing. Argentina here. Hello, Argentina. Midday here in Canada. Yeah. Houdini, what about it? Do you use keyshot render? Nope. What about render? Redshift render. Any resources Sorry, what about Redshift render? That was covered pretty much in the last Q&A. Redshift is my full-time render engine at the moment. I'm not touching Octane specifically with the purpose to be able to comprehensively compare those two in a video for you guys. It will take some more time to work on it, but yeah, it's cool. It's amazing engine, same as Octane, but for different kind of scenarios, I would say, and I will cover this in the video. Have you been to Poland? Yes, I've been to Poland. I have any resources on color grading? So there is a color grading course on MZ. I don't color grading with 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 or something like that. That's highly recommended because Ollie is someone who works in a professional color grading house. He covers the basics. He covers advanced techniques in color grading, and as we know, DaVinci Resolve is the most powerful grading suite out there. So he also have a master class on DaVinci Resolve in general, how to use it, all the editing, Fairlight, maybe Fusion a little bit. Highly recommended. It's on MZ. You can, it's not sponsored, obviously. You can buy the kind of chapters of tutorials separately, or you can subscribe to them for $500 a year or something. But it's a good resource. Philip Bloom, he posts a lot of his master classes there, and it's highly recommended content if you're interested in cinematography, color grading, all that stuff. Can you tell a resource to learn Fusion 9? For those of you who don't know, Fusion, since version 16, Fusion is actually paid. There is no free option anymore. Fusion 9 is still free if you can find where to download it. And the guy I would recommend checking out is called Confusion. It's Vito. I think he lives in Japan. He left some bad comments under some of my videos, so we're not really friends, but he's doing amazing stuff in Fusion. He's capable of creating sort of 3D stuff. Well, not sort of, it is 3D stuff, but just made in Fusion. And he shows all the techniques of working with models inside Fusion, texturing, lighting, all that kind of stuff. Particle systems too, really advanced stuff, not what I'm teaching on this channel. Is it good to retop on my personal stuff? Why would it be bad? Hi from Chicago. Hi, Chicago. Never been to US. It's one of my dreams to actually visit US. It's crazy. Can you talk about multi-person workflow and how your studio manages a project? Okay, this live stream becomes another Q&A. I think it's all right. I just want to encourage you guys to join the membership of the channel, the lowest level, whatever, so that we would have more people to record those interesting late night CG Talks episodes. But I'll keep replying to questions. Why not? It's fun. Oh my God, the chat, it moved. Where was the question? Multi-person workflow it was. So there's nothing really super magical about multi-person workflows. Depending on the nature of projects you're doing. Is it video production? Then DaVinci Resolve, for example, have a project server that you can install, and all your DRP projects will be stored and available for everyone in your studio. Then if it's CG projects, then what I've established, we have a centralized server. All the assets like 𝘁𝗶𝗱 libraries are stored on the server, and every scenes in Cinema 4D, Houdini, whatever, can be opened from any station in the studio in the same way as it would be opened on original station. You're not missing any assets, nothing. And in a situation like we have here, being locked down, all my guys are connecting remotely through TeamViewer, Google Remote, whatever, and they have absolutely same workflow as if they would physically be present in the studio. That's only possible with centralized server, remote machines, and that's pretty much it. You don't need anything else. What really improved our workflow is Deadline. Deadline is a render manager, and it's really convenient for us to drop our jobs into Deadline and let it allocate the render slaves for the job. We can set up priorities, we can choose pools. Pools are like groups of machines. For example, we have machines that no one's working on, like slaves, and we have actual workstations. Whenever there's no one in studio, we can use workstations to render too, so that is a separate pool of machines. When there's people working, you can tell in job submission that I want to use only render slaves in this render, and it won't touch any workstations. A really convenient thing. And for example, sometimes, especially in Octane, if you have slightly different version of Octane in one of the slaves, some frames will be rendered differently. And I'll confess, what I used to do a lot, I was scrubbing through those frames, finding which ones are flickering, and then I would re-render those manually, which is a hilarious waste of time. In Deadline, you can like filter, find out which frame was faulty, what render unit rendered it, filter the list with that slave's name, and ask Deadline to re-render only those faulty frames in one or two clicks. So it's saving you like literally a lot of time. Have you watched Gnomon film school resources? Never watched anything from Gnomon, unfortunately. Would you tell Blender users to switch to Cinema 4D for better results in motion graphics? Do textures and materials work too differently than C4D and Octane? If it's specifically for motion graphics, then probably yes, I would recommend to switch to Cinema 4D, because Cinema 4D historically became really popular because of its MoGraph systems dedicated to motion design and motion graphic stuff. As for the material system, especially you're asking about C4D and Octane, if there is Octane used in Blender, then material system will be absolutely same. The node editor probably will look a bit different, but everything else will be absolutely same. Is number of cores important for 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲, just like Houdini, or 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 is different and works on speed of cores? For simulation and dynamics, how much cores is minimum? I use Ryzen X 3900. It's too slow. I don't know Ryzen X 3900 specs, but I won't speculate. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. But from what I can tell, 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 is a third-party plugin in the host, which is Cinema 4D. So I guess it's limited by what Cinema 4D has to offer. And it does show, if you would click Task Manager while caching your particle sim and ask it to show you actual cores on your CPU, it will show you that they are all used. But I'm not sure it's speeding anything up in 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲, to be honest. If you're after a really complicated sim, or 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲 simulation, it will take a while comparing to Houdini. So Houdini, from especially version 18 with its adaptive stuff in fluids and everything, it just thinks about areas it can optimize and caches hilariously complex stuff in a fraction of time comparing to what you would get in 𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗃. I don't know. I wish it would use all the cores, but Cinema 4D and ZBrush. I'm actually planning a video where I will propose a challenge for all of you while we're still sitting at home. I don't know how are your workloads, still the same? Not, but for us it's nothing really changed in terms of business and workflow, but for us, every year, this time of year is the time when we start learning, improving show reel, working on case studies and stuff, because clients are planning what they want to do for the rest of the year. So it's sort of quiet time. And I'm interested in learning character design because I keep saying that I'm really bad at organic characters. And I was about to propose a challenge for all of you. I'll explain all in details, maybe even come up with sort of prizes or something like that. But I will learn ZBrush. I used it previously, but I want to really dive into it to learn about actual sculpting, then retopo, then rigging, and create characters, that sort of stuff. And of course, render it in Cinema 4D. So it will be a superb combo, Cinema 4D and ZBrush. Hi from Istanbul. Hello, Istanbul. I've been there. The Discord server is only available for Padawan level. It's not Discord, it's Slack, and yeah, it's only available for Padawan level. Can someone give me a tip? So I'm trying to slow the chat down. I'm scrolling up to prevent it from moving, but when I get back to read another questions, it keeps like going down. How can I stop it? Do you use Substance Painter, Designer, Alchemist? I don't know what Alchemist is, but yes, I don't remember what happened there in my head. I mean, I was subscribed to it, but then I thought I'm rarely using it, and I canceled my subscription. But I think I have something like perpetual license, which allows me to use Substance, but not upgrade it or something like that. It's amazing software, but I'm really interested in trying out Quixel's new stuff in their mixer. I downloaded it yesterday, but haven't touched yet. It's supposed to be the same as Substance Painter, but with Quixel assets. That's mind-blowing. That's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to try it out. Hey, is it a good time to buy RTX laptop or wait for some time? I would wait because NVIDIA, well, at least they planned to announce new generation of cards, which I heard will be significantly more powerful than current RTX generation. So I would probably wait because even laptop manufacturers, I think it's substantial amount of time already passed since last releases, even from Razer, and it wouldn't be wise to buy new stuff now. Unless you don't care about latest technology, then probably you can buy. Razer Blade with RTX is amazing. And but still, even when NVIDIA will announce new cards, the prices for old generation laptop and cards will drop. So maybe worth waiting for that too. How do you export Houdini particle simulation for Cinema 4D? Alembic, mate. I had problems with. Ideally, I would love to work with Houdini digital assets in Cinema 4D, but I had problems in Octane. I don't know if they fixed it, but Octane couldn't recognize particles from Houdini digital assets, and it still can't recognize particles even from Alembic, but there is a workaround. Um, all right, I'll just tell you why not. So if you would import Alembic particle sim from Houdini, use scatterer, Octane scatter object to populate the imported Alembic with primitive spheres. That's it. How do you adjust how narrow or wide the focus area in Octane will be? Mess with not f-stop, aperture. How is it called in Octane? Basically, what aperture does on camera, I probably won't be able to see it. Oh, it's digital, isn't it? I won't be able to show it anyway. So basically, the kind of shallow depth of field is happening when there's a lot of light coming in the camera when aperture is full open, and when it's closed, there is no depth of field almost at all. So by decreasing the aperture in Octane, it should be physically based. So by decreasing that value, you're making the focus area narrow. That word, narrow, that's it. There are some words in English that they're just killing me. I can't even physically pronounce them. And whenever I'm trying, I feel like, yeah. Did you already checked out the Maxim Moves app? I have it on my phone. I downloaded it. Someone asked about it on Instagram or in comments. No, I haven't tried it yet. It's supposed to be pretty cool. Maxim released an app called Maxim Moves app. It's supposed to be able to motion capture your face or your body movements. I don't know how accurate it is, but idea is pretty cool. Fusion. That's a good one. Is Fusion similar to the Fusion in DaVinci Resolve? No, it's a tiny bit different. There are some nodes that are not available in Resolve. And in general, I don't like to use Fusion in DaVinci Resolve because when it was just released, I somehow managed to kill the project, like corrupted, it wouldn't open anymore. So since then, I'm kind of have a trauma, psychological one. I'm not using it in Resolve. I prefer to do it in a standalone and then just import rendered shots back in Resolve. Can you remember the movie VFX or CGI of which you was impressed most? Avatar in 2009. I've seen that movie like, I don't know, 50 times. And at the time it came out, it was around the time when I started being interested in CG, and it was just blew my mind. It's crazy. Hi, will you sell the robot from the tutorial about tracking and match moving? You know what? Probably nothing will happen with this robot anymore because as time goes, I'm less and less interested in working with my old assets. The rig of the robot, it's pretty cool, but there are no C-walks or anything like that set up for it. It has animated arms, rigged arms, sorry. Everything is rigged. I think eyes are rigged too. And it's textured in Octane and painted with Substance Painter. I'll probably put it in my shop tonight. Ay. Where am I? My work colleague Daniel says, my mom says hi. Hi. Nice to know you're watching me. Redshift tutorials? And probably after I release that comparison video. about Octane and Redshift, I will incorporate Redshift as well. I don't feel like I'm 100% at the same level as I'm in Octane with Redshift yet. That's why I'm uh, not so keen to start making that video just yet. As I mentioned, this time of year is quite calm. Nothing's really going on, and it's time for us to work on showreel, on case studies, and I have some really ambitious shots in mind. Want to do them in Redshift, use their proxies, just test um, how really capable it is, because I managed to crash Redshift a lot of times, and I don't think it's so robust as everyone's thinking, but it might be just me because I don't know how to utilize it in full, if that makes sense. I need to make sure I'm doing everything correctly, and then maybe, yeah. Will you have any VFX videos coming out soon? Tutorials, talks, tips, etc. Let me check out my list. I have a list of videos I'm planning. I almost finished coming up with, remember 𝘁𝗶𝗰𝗸 tips? So I'm almost finished writing the second volume, second chapter, second part. Here's my YouTube 2020 list, what I want to do. So those tips. Then I'm planning to talk about project pipeline from A to Z. And then at some point I want to talk about noise and how to get rid of it, or do you need to get rid of noise at all? Of course you do. Not always though. So that's what I have planned so far. The chat jumps again. I wonder how this video will come out edited, with color grade, with sound, with everything. Should be cool. How to make a paid subscription if in my region YouTube membership is not supported. I heard it a couple of times. I'm not sure why YouTube membership is not supported in some places. It's weird. Someone suggested me to open Patreon page, but I really was keen to keep everything in one place and everything clean. Don't know. I'll think about it. What about Moda? Anything? Any pluses against Substance? I don't know, mate. I never use Moda. Whatever I make in 3D Max take weeks and weeks to render, and the outcome is not as good as I expected, due to not be able to twist the settings because of very long rendering time. Any suggestions? Well, for this, I think that video I mentioned that I planned, workflow pipeline from A to Z, would be useful, because that's exactly what I'm talking about, want to talk about in there, how not to waste all that time rendering and then being unsatisfied and have to wait for weeks and weeks. And frankly, if you're rendering for weeks and weeks, maybe it's time to switch a render engine or research how you can optimize your scenes. And I do understand that it probably hardware related stuff, but I don't know. That video will be useful for you, because then you wouldn't have to waste so much time. You need to be able to render intermediate kind of renders to check animation, to check lighting, to check animation of lighting, textures, how they're reflecting stuff. and then only after you like 137% sure that's it, I love it, then you can press final render. What I'm using to shoot my videos. So I actually haven't shot anything for a while on this old camera. It's Sony a7R II. It's like 5 or 6 years old. 4K, 30p max, S-Log2, 8-bit, and 100 max, I think the bit rate is. It was pretty cool, and if you would watch my old vlogs and even tutorials, it was shot on this camera. But then I had FS7, it's 4K 60p, I believe, but it's S-Log3 and 10-bit image, which is much better. And now I'm shooting on Blackmagic 6K in RAW. This particular video will be shot with 12:1 compression. And this camera is unbelievable for the money, what it can record. And if you're a colorist or a CG artist, someone who actually cares about the quality of the footage, this camera is just mind-blowing what it can record, what amount of data it can handle. I shot a couple of commercials with this on blue screen. It's amazing. You can pull out stuff that previously you couldn't even think about pulling out. Hi from Kazakhstan. Hello, Kazakhstan. Have you ever been fired from a job or been yelled at severely due to a mistake when you were younger? How do you treat your employees when a mistake happens? What's the worst? What was that? I've never been fired because major part of my career I was freelancing. Then my first actual work was in the interior agency, and I quit myself. No one fired me because I wanted to become a VFX artist and do animations, not interiors. No one yells at me, and I'm not yelling at anyone, obviously. If someone makes a mistake, we just explain what was the mistake and what to do to prevent it in the future. I think so there's a channel, tech channel, Linus Tech Tips, and he sometimes shoots videos of his employees, or employees are shooting these videos themselves by talking about how it is to work with Linus. I'm thinking to do the same thing. It could be funny, because I don't know what our employees thinks about that. Would be funny. How to learn full CG course free because no money. That's truth. And how do I learn CG fully? I assume that's not a British person writing. I'm always watching your videos. You're my favorite. Well, thank you. And you're doing everything correctly. If you want to learn CG for free, YouTube is the best place. That's what I did. There are also forums. There are also different articles. They're all free. Internet is a big ocean of information. Trust me, if you would sit, concentrate, be dedicated, find information you need to do particular tasks, you will learn CG in full. Someone asked something about laptops, but the chat jumped again. I have just one question. I'm a beginner in Cinema 4D, so what is the best engine for Cinema 4D? I can pretend being a really biased person and say Octane, of course, mate. Octane the best, Octane forever. But I won't say that because I don't know what you're doing, what what kind of shots you want to do. And I started from Cinemas 4D. Cinemas 4D's physical render engine. It's absolutely great. You can do cool stuff with it. And as far as I know, yeah, Cinema 4D has that Pro render thing that can render on GPUs, and you can, as far as I remember, switch between physical and Pro render with same shaders. So try that. Start from that. As you go, as you learn, you will figure out what you need yourself. Hey, how to convert camera mapped textures to UV map to make further animations. Research how to bake textures on your model. Difference between CG and VFX. Is HDRI a part of CG? If yes, are there any parts else? Well, CG is computer graphics and VFX is visual effects. The reason why we use different terms is because CG usually refers to fully CG shots where everything completely is created in CG, like cartoons, for example. They're like Death, Love, and Robots. That's mostly full CG stuff in there. Whereas VFX somehow incorporates live shots in it. So you would have a person shot on a blue screen or a green screen, or you would have a footage that needs partial building replacement or something like that. That would be VFX. HDRI is not. HDRI is just a file format. Yeah, it can. It's part of both, I would say, but more it's part of photography initially. What softwares do you recommend for architects to reach real-time and super quality renders, and why? Real-time. Well, try Unity or Unreal Engine, something like that. That will be real-time. Apart from these two, there's not many real-time things in the world. Another 10 dope Cinema 4D tips planned? Yes, sir. What is your biggest mistake you ever done in VFX? Um, I keep telling that story. It's probably that project when there was 10,000 pounds involved in rendering, and I rendered on render farm, and the render came out with flickering frames. I spent 10 grand to do that render, and it was ruined. That was the probably I thought, oh my god. But then appeared that the mistake that I made was unpredictable to behave like that on the render farm, so the guys kindly re-rendered it for me, and my butt was saved. What about Xeon? Xeon, that's a good question. Actually, uh, so we have like regular looking slaves at work, but we also have two massive machines that can host up to 12 GPUs in them. These machines are using server grade motherboards like Supermicro, which then host Xeons. These motherboards, I think, only accept Xeons. And because of that Corona stuff, we were unable to shoot the video of how that one of those units were built with Richard. Richard is the founder of RenderBox's company that builds specialized, massive VFX-oriented rigs. And we now have one of those rigs, and me and Rich, we wanted to shoot a video about it and talk about the most important components in workstations, including Xeons, including server-grade RAM, and things like that. But I guess that unit actually is now with Rich. He's doing his technical voodoo magic with it at the moment to bring it back to me. But I guess you would have to wait for that video. It will be super interesting one. It's even interesting for me because I don't know what Rich will tell us about that stuff. Yeah, Xeons are really important in VFX workflow, and we will talk about the difference between consumer grade CPUs and server grade parts. Can you still take good video with low-end cameras like 550D? Yeah, the key would be lighting. If you light anything, any camera, even GoPro, looks amazing during the day. Problem starts when there's not enough light. So if your video doesn't look good on your old camera or lower end camera, try to improve your lighting. Uh, are you learning? Oh, the chat. I don't know what's happening. You know what? Last stream, I noticed when I was rewatching it that there are like cuts in it. I don't know if it's happening in the Mac or if the internet connection drops and then you don't hear me. But that's when the chat is jumping, I assume. What about your personal short movie? Have you shot anything already? No, because I'm sitting at home all the time these days. Everyone are sitting at home. If I want to sell my creative video to any TV channel, what should I know before selling? I would say you can't sell any creative video to TV channel because if TV channel needs creative video, it's a big process of a lot of people from TV channel coming up with an idea, concept, or whatever, then collaborating with a big agency with a lot of people who will execute that video specifically and custom build for that TV channel. That's from my experience, but maybe you can. I just don't know what you need to do. I followed YouTube videos and I learned in YouTube CG videos, but I'm a little poor in English, but extremely love CG and I learned little CG works, but that's not fulfilling me. Well, if your English is poor, then here you go. You know what stuff to improve, what sort of, what skills to improve. And then there's a lot of comments in Russian on this channel asking why I'm not talking Russian. I could, because that's my name, that's my mother tongue. It's my native language. But the reason I encourage everyone to learn English because what's the kind of center of VFX in the world? Where is it? Is it in India? Is it in Russia? Or is it in Hollywood? It is in Hollywood, and America is renowned as English-speaking country. So whatever you will say to me, I will always encourage you to learn English because then you're opening the doors to enormous ocean of information which is made in English. So that's probably what you should start with. Learn English, and then the whole learning process will become easier. What about your short movie that was there? I'm 16. That's a good age, mate. we, we have 12 regular slaves. I know what you mean. It just sounds so ridiculous. And without context, it does. Browse through chat options. You can slow it down by putting a timer between messages we can send. Ah, really? Let me see. Um, where are the settings? Sorry, guys, I just think it will benefit all of us if I'll do that. But I don't have any settings here. You know what? I'll figure it out later next time. I won't deal with the jumpy thing. That's why I think that late night CG talks is a good idea, because it will be kind of really dedicated to the cause audience, maybe of 100 people, let's say. Let's assume 100 people. And there won't be that happening. It will be much cleaner, much neater. That's my dream. Most time we're so busy earning, we don't have much time to learn new stuff. So what should we do if we want still to be updated with new tools and techniques and still earning money? Then you need to hustle, mate. In the evenings, at nights, potentially exclude any sort of sleeping hours. That will help. I'm cheating that way sometimes. I'm no kidding. Ask my colleagues. Sometimes I'm doing night shifts. So it's one day, one night, then next day, and only then I'm sleeping. Kind of tricking the time, getting myself another 12 hours. You're welcome. Change to live chat to avoid scrolling problems. This is a live chat. What do you mean? You know what? I'm a total dingus in this live streaming stuff, but I promise I'll learn. I should probably watch some YouTube videos. Why you became generalist? Because I was facing the same problem most of the art newcomers are facing. I wanted to do everything, and that's why I became generalist. And it's actually not a bad thing, especially if let's say you're ambitious about your career and you're aiming high at being like a director or someone. It's it's I would say inevitable. You have to know how every stage of production works from A to Z, because you're the head of it. So I would say generalists have more chances and opportunities to become key persons in production. I see some people are chatting between themselves in that chat. How do you do that? Marvel or DC fan? Both, actually. I'm a fan of both. Literally yesterday, me and my missus are rewatching all the Avengers stuff, starting from Iron Man. Speak Russian, please. I have some videos where I speak in Russian. I think first ever Q&A, I was speaking Russian there. Explain rendering using C4D physical engine. What do you mean? I actually haven't used physical for 6 years. I don't know what's going on in it. The only feature I really miss from physical is so in Cinema 4D, natively you can drop materials on top of each other. For example, you have metal surface, and then you can set up another material with scratches and with alpha channel. Drop it on top of your object, and it will overlay the model. So you can kind of layer the effects on top of each other. That's a really cool feature. And since Maxon bought Redshift, I'm expecting it to become one of the features in Redshift too. That would be so amazing. You're forgetting to drink your tea. Has to be cold by now. Let me check it out. It's all right. I'll top it up. Thank you. What about the time for that show? Because 8 p.m. is obviously not late night. What do you think? What time? Or does it even matter if this video will be post-produced later and published next day? Hello, Andrey. If I may ask, when you started learning Cinema 4D, did you learn cinema solely? Told you I can pronounce some words, or alongside other softwares? When I was learning Cinema 4D, I already had experience from 3D Max and Maya, so it was kind of fully my decision. Yeah, I'm learning Cinema 4D and I'm not touching anything else. And I actually wasn't. I even stopped to do photography and fully, um, fully was doing full time only Cinema 4D learning, not even other engines, just Cinema 4D physical, learn how it works, what it does. Mhm. 9 p.m. someone suggested. Yeah, that's more like late night. Could you throw us some footages of BMPC6K? That's the camera I'm shooting with now. You mean like generic, vloggy, nature, landscapes, or production with blue screen? Because if it's the second one, then I can't, because it's commercial work. It's under NDA. I can't share any of those assets. Someone says the later the better. I will become like, I will have really funny face when I'm tired. So can't do it at night, can I? Do you do any scripting in your VFX work? Nah. The most probably complicated stuff I'm doing what is in Espresso at the moment. I'm trying to learn Vex in Houdini, but as I mentioned numerous amount of times, I'm a beginner in Vex and Houdini. That's what I'll say. 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀. What tea do you drink? Some fruity tea. Should I learn Cinema 4D and Houdini for VFX at once, or one at a time, like C4D then Houdini? I will tell you that Houdini is capable of melting your brain on its own, so I would concentrate on one thing first. No Python? No. I only used Python once to do some cloth tearing ages ago, before Cinema 4D introduced more advanced cloth simulation tools. These days, it can be really effectively done with 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 if we're talking about Cinema 4D, but for all sort of simulations, I'm recommending Houdini for now. Who knows what R22 will bring us? I love extremely your logo. BGM, your videos, and your attitude. Your attitude is very sweet and good. Thank you. Sweet attitude. We are from India. It's 1:30 at night here. I guess 8 p.m. is good, or even earlier. If I'll do it earlier, then I'll have a really warm sunset on my sofa. It won't be late night, will it? Actually, a lot of people are asking, why is there an owl in my logo? That's the reason, because I'm the most effective nights. And when I was freelancing, I was working exclusively at nights. That's where it came from, the owl. Can you make a tutorial on camera, how it works, and all the stuff that is important to understand? I don't have a camera yet. You taught me how the focal length works. Now I use it in my renders. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, focal length. has a dramatic effect on your shots, architectural shots or product shots will benefit from different focal length. And it's important to understand how lenses are working, that's for sure. Would I make a video about how the camera works? Maybe. Why not? Sounds complicated though. Would a company hire you for a project if your brand name is just your name? Yeah. Well, I would like to believe someone would hire me. I think it depends on your show reel, who you are, what you do. What are your plans in CG for 2020? Well, incorporate more of the Houdini in the workflow. I think I'm pronouncing it quite in a funny way. Houdini. In Russian, it sounds more brutal. Houdini. Yeah. Incorporate that in the workflow, create more case studies, more high-end stuff, really cinematic shots, and hopefully, maybe not in this year, shot a short movie. That's ambition. Yo, what's up? What's up, mate? Do you have a tip for texturing buildings? I usually make a building out of one block and extrude and stuff. However, I always find it hard to texture. I used to not draw, but you can go for a walk and take pictures of the buildings that you want to have in your scene. What you can do then is draw the masks for windows to separate materials. And then draw the depth map yourself and texture your cube like that. That again depends on the engine you're using, because Redshift requires subdivisions for displacement to work, whereas Octane does not require anything. All the subdivisions happens in GPU. You don't need to subdivide or tell it to subdivide anything. So that's one workflow. And the second suggestion would be to use Google and find those textures, because I know there are packs of pre-made building facades available on the internet. I think I've seen that ad a couple of days ago. I was really curious, but then it disappeared somewhere. Just look it up. Or actually, 𝘁𝗵𝗄 these days is amazing, and depending what engine you're using, Octane Scatterer to populate the buildings, you have really great randomization options in this engine. And Redshift is even better. It's crazy. With proxies, you can. I'm about to do that. I'm about to test it. So it's a really good question. A case study with Maxon moves. Yes, sir. Certainly have to test it out. You know what? There's actually a request from one company for sponsored mention to incorporate to mention them in one of my videos, but I'll do it now. What was the name? So there's an app. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. Get started. Come on, I should be logged in. So it's called Displayland anyway. And what it does is it allows you to 3D scan the environment, the rooms around you, in a matter of, I don't know, a minute. You just walk around holding your phone, scanning the environment, and then it processes it, it uploads it to their server, processes the model, and then you can download the file for Cinema 4D with your environment and textures. Depending on how accurate you were during the scanning, the model can be more or less detailed. But it's something that can produce amazing effects, and the possibilities are endless. For example, imagine you're on a shoot, right? what we usually do if the shoot is meant for VFX is we're taking pictures to have reference or of where the lights were and things like that. But with this app, what you can do is just walk around the set, 3D scan it, and have a 3D model to reference. That's amazing. And also pretty cool effects are possible with this. It's creating like triangulated geometry. And even if it's a rough model, you can create like, I don't know, holographic scanning effects of your room. Dope stuff. Check it out. Display land. Will there be tutorials on your channel like Andrey's? Like 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀? No, I'm not doing After Effects. And I'm not as handsome as Andrey. Can you do an advanced breakdown for your 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗲 scene? Probably not, because I don't like to get back to old scenes, but I can talk you through it. So it was one of my first times trying out Redshift because Octane struggled with volumes and amount of lights I wanted in the scene interacting with volumes. So I switched to Redshift. 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲, every city pack for buildings, some Quixel assets for the foreground roof. The ship itself was bought from 𝘁𝗶𝗃, and I modified it a little bit to be able to animate it. And the character is my colleague. We shot him in the studio on blue background. And nothing else, pretty much. What else? And fog environment in Redshift. A lot of lights are allowed to interact with volume. Redshift is doing an amazing job with that stuff. And to be honest, if I would be aware of proxies in Redshift at that point when I was creating that scene, it would look like 1,000 times better. I mean, making tutorials on the concepts of the camera, lens properties, sensors, etc. Like you, well, sensors, they probably, yeah, makes sense to make a video about it. Even codecs, compressions, and bit rates, and all that stuff. You know what? For that kind of stuff, I would recommend Philip's Bloom's. He have two master classes. One, the latest one is called Cinematography for Photographers. Not gonna lie, I don't remember if he covers it, but I think he does. Like all the camera important, essential components, what they do, what they're for, in that masterclass. It's again available on MZ. But maybe I will do a video like that. What about the spider 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 video you did? That's Octane. That's full Octane. The purpose of that case study was to test my spider web pack. I really wanted to have a dynamic spider web in Cinema 4D, the dynamic spider web that will interact with anything that touches it. So the spider was perfect subject for spider web, obviously. And as you've seen in the video, the spider legs does kind of shape the spider web because it's a true simulation. It's really cool. The spider pack is available in my shop. Go check it out. I mean, topics like that, like walkthrough or rebuilding a scene like that, is what I want to do with this late night CG talks. But for that, I will start to post topics for members, like from next week, and they will vote what's the topic or maybe suggest their topics we will talk about, and then I'll start recording just that. Just we're doing like the spider breakdown in this episode without answering the questions. That's what I want from this late CG night. Late night CG talks. Late night CG talks. It's like rhymes. Shouldn't forget that. Thanks for answering. Where are you learning Houdini from? Can you recommend some? Yes, there's a brilliant Houdini artist, 𝘁𝗵𝗰𝗸. He's from San Francisco, I believe. And he's making a course. It's an ongoing thing. He releases new and new things. He updates old things as the software evolves, called Applied Houdini. And he explains everything in depth, like for dummies, like everyone would understand what he does. And the reason he does that is because he wants you to understand why you need to do certain things in Houdini, how they work, why they work that way, and all that kind of stuff. He's amazing. Go check it out. These are paid tutorials. What do you suggest young artists should do for better performance, since we can't afford the Redshift and another external paid render engine for now? Is Redshift one-off payment? Doesn't it have a subscription? Because so I just released that video about 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀, right? It's a professional tool with amazing color reproduction, and it's only $1,000 worth. So £1,000 for a monitor, professional one. And there were quite a few comments under that video saying, "Oh my God, that's hilarious. It's expensive. I'm not gonna buy it ever." Well, first of all, you have to change your tools attitude towards professional tools, because nothing professional will ever cost like consumer level money. And if you would compare that 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 monitor to like Apple XDR, or even Apple XDR is actually a good value for money. There are truly professional monitors like Enzo. They can cost up to 10,000. That is how much professional tools cost. So if you're thinking about how to increase your performance, you probably should save money and buy the engine, because trust me, it will make the difference. Your tools is really important, like really important. And I'm not saying that you need like 10 stations straight away and you can't do anything on a laptop. Yes, you can. You can. It's just it's a gradual progression. Like everything have to make sense. Where do you think the current world situation will take the CG trade? I don't know where it will take movies, because movies are the industry that suffers the most at the moment. Like movie premieres are postponed, current productions are stopped for obvious reasons. But CG in general, like commercials and stuff, it's an unbelievable, despite a lot of companies are actually closing, it's an unbelievable opportunity for CG industry, because as my partner says, when people can't shoot live stuff, what do they need the most to promote their products? There you go. Genius. Okay, someone was asking something in Russian. Someone started to watch my channel from Razor Blade review, old one, Razor Pro, and then he realized it's a VFX channel, and now he wants to learn. You're welcome, mate. I mean, yeah, That's what we all are here to learn. Redshift is the best bang for buck. One-time payment and it works with all programs straight away. No additional costs. That's true. I'm not gonna say it's not true, but I don't like how everyone is saying that Redshift is cheaper than Octane. It's not. All right, because Octane has one unbelievable advantage over, I would say, all the engines in the world. It's networking render. So I'll explain. So there is a main license you need. If you're working in Cinema 4D, right, you need Octane standalone license plus DCC. You pay that, right? But what if you are having slaves, like render nodes? Let's call them render nodes for now. All you would need to do with Octane is buy a slave node license, and it's significantly cheaper. You like one-off payment, and then all you need on the render node is only Octane slave. That's it. You don't need Cinema 4D. You don't need anything. Just Windows and Octane slave software. Just launch the command line, and that's it. Sorry. And what I experienced with Redshift, just to let you know, I have 28 Octane licenses. So when I decided to switch to Redshift, first thing I discovered is that Redshift doesn't have any network rendering. You won't be able to utilize machines around you the same way as you can in Octane, right? When you buy Redshift and want to do the distribute rendering, you can either use Cinema's 4D Steam render, which is whatever. But then I wanted to use Deadline, and that meant I need to buy Cinema 4D license for every node. You all know how much Cinema 4D costs, right? So I had to do that, and we did it. Then you need Redshift license for each node, which is additional cost. So, and then if you're using 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲, things like that, you need to buy 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 for each machine with Redshift. Whereas with Octane, it doesn't care. All your licenses are on master, and then you're using network render, and Octane does all the job. It just tells the render slaves what to render, and they do that, send the image back. So what's cheaper? It always kills me when people are saying like Redshift is cheaper, Octane is crap. It's not the case, guys. And I think Redshift is actually working on network rendering capabilities at the moment. I believe they are already implemented it in the latest experimental builds, but it only works with stills. Haven't tested it myself, but it will be a game changer for them when they will implement it. Then we will be able to talk about prices between, like, compare Octane versus Redshift. Where do you think the current world? I already replied that. Hello, Andrey. 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲, Rocket Lasso, Corridor Crew. What channels do you follow on YouTube and also recommend? 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲, I don't know other two, but 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲, I actually don't know why their subscriber count stopped at one level. It doesn't go anywhere. It's like, looks like consistent audience they have. But when I was learning, it's 𝘁𝗶𝗱𝗲 is that old, like not the dudes themselves, but the channel. I was learning from them, and they still are posting live streams with like unbelievable information on Redshift, Octane, Arnold, everything. Crazy. I don't know why they're stopped growing in terms of subscribers. Highly recommend. Acer Concept D monitor is also very cool. Have no doubt in that, mate, but I don't have one. What about the biggest project you have already finished? Is it Octane project? What amount geometry it had? Was it something I mentioned previously? Because I was working on a massive project in December. It had hilarious amount of geometry, in fact, and it was a mix of Octane and Redshift. So, how much of creative decisions do you make while working for clients? If we're talking about idea or storyboarding, I'm not making those decisions at all. I'm not that big on ideas, to be fair. I know how to make things look amazing, but I prefer to leave ideas and creativity to someone who's much better at it than me. If you're talking about creative decisions during the process, like shading, lighting, and stuff, how do I make them? I don't know. I think it's just the taste, the style of the artists. They are made naturally. You don't have control over that. I'm a VFX student from Belgium. I would like to know if you have some tips for UV mapping. Don't jump, chat. Which software did you make them? Do you already heard about Installod? Thank you for your work. I don't know what Installod is, but I'm doing my UVs in Prism UV. It's amazing. Amazing. I don't need to do UVs that often, so whenever I do, I just go on their website, uh, pay for 1 month, like 30 quid or something, do absolutely cleanest ever UVs on whatever spoiled geometry, corrupted geometry. You can make anything work in Prism UV. Highly, highly recommended. Do you think studying VFX at a university like Escape Studio is a waste of money? I don't know what Escape Studio is. Uh, I actually won't answer this because I have a really like specific opinion about colleges, universities, and education in this industry. Uh, Maybe it does make sense, and I would appreciate like the top studios like Frame Store, the Mill. Maybe they do actually do like internships or even classes, do more of a educational stuff for people because studying from these guys would make sense. I'm not so sure about universities because shame I can't translate. There is a saying in Russian about people who can do, people who can't teach. It means I'm one of them. Does Octane has any render problems? Depends on your scene. Can have tons of problems, or can be smooth as. What do you do if you don't like the client's art decision? You swear a lot. You like the client is always right, and your job primarily is to make client happy. So it's not your job to judge client's creative decision. I was learning 3D Max and V-Ray for like past 6, 7 months, but after watching your videos, I kind of think that I should switch to Cinema 4D with some render engine. Can't decide which one. What do you suggest? If you're coming from V-Ray, Redshift probably would be smoother on a learning curve for you. What are your thoughts about Ryzen series? I'm not touching AMD anymore, at least for now. What is best? What is better for post-production, Nuke or After Effects? I hope it's a joke. No, Nuke, of course, yeah. You can try to teach the client a bit. Client relationship is a really complicated thing, and it's like an art on its own. There are people who are doing just that. They develop relationship, they support that relationship, and they communicate with the client to keep that relationship. So all we artists, whatever level, art directors or junior artists, we can be mad as we want, up to us. But this will never reach the client, and you don't have to educate it. You can suggest something. There's no harm. Your studio managers will always pass your suggestions to clients, but I see no point in this because first thing, clients know their products better. They know what worked for their markets better, and whatever they want, they paying money. You your ambition can only be kind of expressed in desire to make it look better than you did last time, technically, you know? Unless client paid you for your creative like opinion. Escape is pretty close to the mill on the level. Then yeah, probably it makes sense to go and learn from them. Do you know any Iranian artists? No. I tell you more, I don't recall knowing any Russian artists. That's because I'm really isolated in my own things, all the time. Is Redshift easier to use than Octane in the settings? No, Octane is by far the easiest engine out there. Literally, a few clicks, you're good. Redshift is made for optimization. You can optimize some things, but it's not as complex as V-Ray. It's much simpler than V-Ray, for sure. Uh, did you ever thought of starting a video series as reviewing the beginner CG artist's portfolio? So if I don't know if there are people in here who are subscribed for a while, there was an ambition of mine called Art Advice. So I announced that I can give advices on people's works and gave the email to send their works to. And then there was like in first week 300 or more emails. So I decided that it's not going to work now. This chat is a good example of what's going on with my emails, and it's too much work. I have work. 8 gigs of RAM, good or bad for CG? Bad, but doable. Waiting for AMD cards supported in Octane. Yeah, for sure. Octane X is pretty much will be released really, really soon. What's the best software or way of tracking? Use Cinemas 4D's native, it's amazing. Have you ever heard about Google's Ink render farm? No, never. What's your favorite VFX studio, like Double Negative, Industrial Light and Magic? Also, do you want to try machine learning to drive something in your scene? I'm not so keen to try machine learning, despite it sounds amazing. My favorite studio would be Industrial Light and Magic, of course. And then recently I found that studio on Instagram, Unit Image. Oh my God, they're amazing, amazing stuff they're doing. And also there's Polish studio, Platig Image, located in Poland. They're super, super high-end stuff. Ay, 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 ay. What do you think about CG Trader, stock photos, etc.? Can somebody make a living out of it? You would need to produce enormous amount of content to make a living out of it. Same as YouTube, like people think you can, people think even I'm like earning tons of money from YouTube. It's not the case. It's like literally nothing you're earning from YouTube, at least at my level. Same with stocks, but with stocks, it's even worse. You need to produce like thousands and thousands of pieces of content in order to earn something good. Can I control shadow color in Octane? Change the light source. But I mean, that's called color grading. You usually do it in post. Am I staying at Redshift or is it just for the case study? I think I'll implement it in workflow because there are specific scenes that are better in Redshift, and I already paid for all the licenses. So. Okay, it's been 1 hour, 30 minutes. So guys, do you think that late night CG talks is a good idea? After that stream, this particular stream will be unpublished from YouTube, and I will upload the edited video tomorrow, probably, if I won't fall asleep because it's late night. And could you suggest in comments what time it should come out, which days, how often, and how should it work from your perspective? And would you be interested in becoming a member to participate in that kind of um, closed behind the scenes process? I think those, when I'll be doing lives for members only, I think those sessions can be even 3 hours. And then after I edit the video, I'll condense them to like 1 hour tutorial or something. I really want this thing to work. It's just really hard. You can see yourself what's going on with in chat here. I don't know. All right, let's record the ending for the edited video. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Peace. I'm kidding. I'm not switching off yet. Peace. 9 p.m. Tuesday, I think. 9 p.m. Tuesday. I'm working on weekdays won't work. 9 p.m. Tuesday. Don't forget about the Patreon. Don't forget. Make a portfolio with watermarks when you don't have money to buy Redshift. Is it a good or bad idea? I think it's bad idea. It's just aesthetically will spoil your shots, whatever you want to show. I would save money. Thank you, guys. There are so many of you and so many amazing messages. Just love you all. Someone's writing on Instagram. Yeah, you probably noticed I'm not often answering on Instagram. That's why. How much will I earn? From what? From this video? Maybe $1 or five? Where do I see myself in 10 years professionally? Um, um, as a head of department or director, I think that's what's good about being generalist. You know everything about everything. Maybe not at the highest level, but you know everything. So you can control everything, you can navigate everything, and you can coordinate everything. That's probably what I'll become. Is the Clarice best for look development? Clarice is it's good for like really high-end cinematic shots, A to Z development. It's extremely powerful. Have you even seen the Clarice's showreel? It's mind blowing. Why do you buy Blackmagic Fusion separately from DaVinci Resolve? Because standalone Fusion is different from what's inside Resolve, slightly, but still. Where are your fireflies? They're upstairs, chilling. Any, rec- any recommended Houdini courses? Already recommended. Applied Houdini, please check it out. Do you have any pet, cat, or dog? Is it real one or CG one? I have an imaginary cat. Would you like to work in a big studio like ILM if you had the opportunity? If I would be in my early 20s, yes. But in general, no, because I'm that kind of person. I don't like when I have to follow someone's rules or be obliged to work in certain softwares, for example. I had a good, like 5 years ago, I had a good offer from NVIDIA to be their 3D designer, but it was a good salary, everything. But the only condition that I really didn't like is that they wanted me to work in Maya, and I really didn't want to go back. So I turned the offer down. When we gonna see your work on the big screen? In spring, actually. Uh, in spring on Netflix. That's all I can say. Later spring, sorry, because I just realized this time is flying. Who knows with that stuff going on in the world, huh? I'm intermediate in 3D Max. Should I switch to C4D or master 3D Max first? Depends on what you want to do further down the line, mate. Cinema 4D is like at least 1,237 times easier to learn than 3D Max. So what's your full CG work experience? How many years experience? Um, 10 in CG and 15 in general in design. How much time it took me to learn what I know now in Houdini? Um, I don't know. I never dedicated any big time to learn Houdini. I was just doing it, following applied Houdini tutorials. Um, I'm doing it for maybe a year, two. Hi, Andrey. Where do you live now at the moment? Obviously not in Russia. Yeah, obviously. I live in on the south of England. I won't give you my address. Not in London. I don't like London. London. It's really claustrophobic. You guys work with remote freelancers sometimes, but mostly in video production side of things. I prefer not to work with freelancers when it comes to CG production because we have centralized server, we have really demanding uh, render requirements, and transferring that amount of data between ourselves and freelancers would be no thanks. Do you miss your mother and father? Yeah, everyone misses their mother and father, mate. Where you're not gonna stop streaming, peace. I was going to stop, but then some interesting questions in there. Actually, I'm occupying my missus' room. We're supposed to watch a movie, so she's probably watching me somewhere else in the house. I should probably stop. Yeah. Have you ever had a projection mapping job? Yeah, 2 months ago, mate. It's one of the most demanding stuff on the market. Not demanding. Oh yeah, it's one of the most. It's the thing in a high demand. Here you go. My brain starts to shut off because we're streaming for almost 2 hours. YouTube tutorials or LinkedIn courses? YouTube tutorials. Any tips for artists who want to start their own business? Become really good, then find a partner to run the business. Okay, guys, you can hear my missus' thoughts. She wants to watch movies. That's what I'm gonna do. Gonna go have my dinner, then review the footage and start editing. Hopefully, we'll upload this video tomorrow with color grade, with sound. I hope the sound is good because that laptop is too loud. Yeah, one more time. Stay safe, guys. Peace.